And this is one we all kind of like here. The Utah Jazz visiting the Dallas Mavericks again. Luka down in his second game back from his Achilles sprain or stretch or pull or whatever the heck it was. Mavericks at home laying 3 points here. The total very low. Looking at 212 here, and what has really been kind of grind games, pretty interestingly. And I like the spot for the Mavericks quite a bit. The Jazz have been, I don't want to say pitiful. I'm trying to think of a nicer word, but it's just been really bad. I mean, to come out in those first two games, knowing there's no Luka and not being able to, grab both of them to be up 2-0, it's just been a tough series. This is what we see every year from Utah. For whatever reason, that style translates very well in the regular season and very poorly in the postseason. There doesn't seem to be a next gear or a next level. And I kind of feel bad for Gobert. I think he's had a really nice series. He's been all over the place. Offensively, I think he's been a plus, but just not enough here. Chris, what do you think? Mavericks?
Yeah, are we all in agreement on this one? That's exciting. Alex, the past two shows we've all been in agreement about one pick, and it's worked. So don't you ruin that on us, because Alex was on vacation last week. Must be nice. So yeah, you asked me a question about the Mavericks. First of all, in that last game, like I mentioned at the top of this show, it felt like the Mavericks should have won for me. They were all over Gobert down low. Gobert couldn't make a shot. Of course, he was sent to the foul line, did pretty well there. But they're really driving him crazy. And you can say the same thing for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, Donovan Mitchell his stock is going down and down in my mind. He could really be stifled, and it feels like the Mavs have figured out at least how to limit those two. Now, old Rudy's still going to get his rebounds. He's like averaging like 18 per game in the series, but this Mavs team has showed a lot of fight too. But in that last game, 29 fouls, and Maxi Kleber went out there in the fourth quarter, missed almost a whole quarter. That was a big difference in that game, right? The Mavs have to make some adjustments in this one. They're not going to want to foul as much. They're going to want to play just as aggressive, but they want to play smarter basketball. They're going back home. Luka's now warmed up, right? And we're seeing all these players kind of starting to show how capable they were even without Luka. We got the Spencer Dinwiddies of the world. We have the Jalen Brunson. I'm still very impressed by what Dwight Powell's doing. Even if the stats aren't always great, he is really bothering Gobert and other players on the Jazz. Max effort from him every night. I like a lot of things I see about this Mavericks team. And watch out. Where's Kate Constable, wherever you are on vacation? I know you're watching this show. You put everything down to watch this show. And Josh, I think I remember you saying this weeks ago, that you like the Mavericks to be in the Western Conference Finals. I think the Mavericks are a team that a lot of other teams in the West should be scared of. If they can shoot threes and if they can clamp down on defense, and especially if they can start the game off really well, because they haven't always been good in the first half. But when they're good in the first half, they're really hard to beat in the second half. I'm buying a lot of stock of the Mavericks these days, and I'm selling it all in the Jazz. There's, like we spoke about many times, there's just something off with the Utah Jazz. Hard to dissect exactly what that is.
Well, I guess, Josh, Chris blew it for you here a little bit. What do you like about the Mavericks?
Look, I think Luka having a game under his belt is a pretty big thing. He sort of admitted to feeling fatigued and struggling a little bit in the late stages in Game 4 in Utah. So he'll be, I don't want to say well-versed, but at least better prepared, I think, this time around to execute down the stretch. It was a little bit sloppy from Dallas, I think, in the clutch for their standards, and that's something that needs to be rectified, even if not in this series, but going forward, they need to be better in closing out games. Utah are just a strange basket case of a team, like we said earlier, where there are pieces there, and there are still moments in games where they look good for 8 to 10 minutes at a time, and then things just seem to fall apart really quickly. And you look at a series like this, and the obvious mismatch is, I think, Rudy Gobert inside. I think he has done a pretty admirable job, to be honest, and I think that if they played through him more offensively, they might actually have more success. It's the one area where I think they have a complete and utter advantage on the inside, just because the Mavs don't necessarily have someone with that size to keep up with him. But at the same time, we know that no matter what, they're just not going to run their offense through him at all. He'll be nothing more than a sort of third option at best. And all we're going to see is more Donovan Mitchell on the ball, where it's become a little bit ISO heavy at times from Utah, strangely enough. It's not something that's necessarily been a DNA or a staple of this team over the past couple of years under Quinn Snyder. If they do that, then Dallas's defense is, in my opinion, far too good to let that beat them. The flip side, I think the Mavs offense is basically going to be able to just go at Utah's Achilles heels. They will continue to create those wide open corner threes. The Jazz seem to give up a lot in terms of frequency and efficiency from that spot. Obviously, it's just an efficient spot on the floor to be taking shots, especially when they're uncontested. But also they have two guards in Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic, of course, who are both able to penetrate, both able to play in the mid-range. And Utah have struggled with that all season long, not just in the postseasons gone by, but you look at all their regular season matchups with teams who are able to, or who have guards who are able to sort of get in and around that mid-range. They are extremely efficient and effective. And I think that's exactly what will happen again today, where if those guys are able to get in those regions and are able to shoot the ball well, it forces the defense to have to collapse in on them, and that's when you get more wide open threes, and that's exactly what both Bronson and Luka are able to do in terms of their playmaking and finding those guys. So I ultimately think Dallas offensively should be able to, for the majority of this game, get the looks that they want. And I think that the defense ultimately as well is going to be able to shut down what Utah is going to do with their guards. So until Utah fix whatever internal issues they have, or until they blow it up, I think their ceiling is always going to be a first-round exit, unfortunately, in the West, unless they get the luxury of playing a beat-up and undermanned team to start, which they had the opportunity to do so, and they still managed to fumble the ball there as well to start this series. So yeah, I think Dallas gets it done pretty easily here and probably rattles off the next two to punch their ticket through the next round.
Excellent. Well, it's a sweep across the board. Give us all the Mavericks -3. Really like this spot for Dallas.